Well, there's a couple things. Number one, you have to know when you start a business, the odds are 95% of the time you are going to fail. That's huge to risk, right out of the chute, isn't it? And why do most companies fail? There's all kinds of factors, but you have to know that statistically, the odds are you're going to be in that group of 95 who don't make it past 3 years. So if you're going to take that risk, you're going to look and say, this is a pretty big decision on my part. There better be a great benefit on the other side of this if I'm going to make it. So the risks are huge. I'm driving down here today to visit with you, and I'm on the road, and I'm saying, I got in my car, there was a risk, right? But if I look at the odds and the chances of me having an accident and whatnot, it's fairly low. But on the other hand, and when I get in my car, the entrepreneurial car, boy, the risk and the odds go up very high that I'm going to have a great difficulty with this assignment. So I better have a huge return on the other side to kind of mitigate that risk, or I've got a problem. Obviously, the risks are you might have an opportunity that passes you by. There's a risk you don't get a promotion. There's a risk you don't find the next great job. There's risk around you're going to lose money. Certainly for most entrepreneurs, they're going to find that to be the case. There's a risk around relationships, and there's a risk even on your own health. There's all kinds of risks that are associated with somebody who dives into a new business, and you're going to try and measure those the best you can. I always tell an entrepreneur this around the financial side. None of us think we're going to be Bill Gates. We just think, you know what, I'm going to have a job, I enjoy doing it, and it's going to pay my bills. And I recognize it's probably not as much as I used to make, but I'm in charge and I'm getting to do it. But I say to them, can you do it for 1 year? If you got enough cash, if you got enough energy, can you, around your support team and all the people you're engaged with, can you do this for 1 year and give it all you've got? And at the end of the year, if it just hasn't materialized and you're not there where you think you want to be, then you cut it and you go get something else. But you have 1 year to try and get this thing up to speed. I've been doing that with a young entrepreneur here locally, where I've given him enough cash to get through that 1 year. He has his head down, he's working hard at it, he's got his wife's support, but he knows he's got a safety net for 1 year, and after that, the net goes away. He's got to have it happen in that time period. Well, most of the time what is the most telling moment of success is I've got a customer. So I took this cool idea and I went and I visited with customers, and they said yes, they liked it, they would pay for it, and I know fairly quickly if I'm going to get traction on it. And if you can't get someone who will pay for your product, this idea that's now become real, and you can't get some traction with them early on, it's probably then something you better back up and say, maybe I picked the wrong idea. So most of the time, I think an entrepreneur knows in 90 days, doesn't have to actually wait the year. But let's say he's got some traction. Now the rest of that year is really probably trying to perfect it, get it going, get the sales up to a point where you can break even, so to speak. But it's all about your customer. And if you don't have a customer, you don't have business. Yeah, if they're single, they're high risk, right? They can sleep in the back of their truck in a sleeping bag. They risk it all because they haven't got anything to lose. You know, their mom and dad is supporting them. You move into the next stage of your life and you have a wife. And now there's a little more risk because you've got a partnership. And so they start to, that risk level that they might have had as a young single person starts to come back down.
Their risk appetite.
Their risk appetite, their level there. If you add children into the mix, it even goes less than that, because now they sense an obligation to do something. Keep in mind, I'm 43, I got 6 children and a wife, and I'm taking the biggest risk of my life at 43. When if you think about it, I should have been the most stable. I should have been sitting back and not doing anything. And so the point is it kind of depends on the person, where they are in their life. I had reduced my risk because I didn't have a mortgage on the house anymore. I paid it off, had a little bit of savings, and I said to myself, I'll give myself 1 year. And my wife said, go for it for 1 year. But my children lived in poverty for 2 years until the company got somewhere. I like the ones who've gone out and failed enough to be smart enough not to do it again.
Okay.
The first time people have too much to learn, and they do have to go through these steps. They do have to get beat up. They do have to get punished for what's going on. So the sweet spot for me as an investor is if I could look at somebody who's had 2 or 3 failures and they've learned from those failures, they're now in a position where they might indeed do a better job at it because they've had some hard lessons of life. I went through so much money, I could have got several degrees from Harvard and paid for that education. So there's a high price to learn and grow and be successful. It just does not come easily. We teach a class to anybody who wants to come, free class on how to be a successful entrepreneur. And what I find is, there's no science on it that I know of, but I think you're born with it. I think it's in you, and you're able then to take these risks and do the other things that are important to be a successful entrepreneur. There's just some people who can't get there. They don't dream big enough, they don't have the passion to do it, they don't have the energy. So I think my answer is that you're born with it. It's just who you are. It's pretty fast for me now because I'm a quick study, because I've seen so many various entrepreneurs and I recognize what they can do and how fast they'll learn it. And so in today's world, if I look at an entrepreneur and hear their business plan and I get to know them a little bit better, I know pretty quickly if they're the ones that we would bet our money on.
A 5-minute kind of bet or an
yeah,
hour?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can think and within 5-10 minutes, I know if there's somebody I want to have a deeper dive with and get to know better and have due diligence on, because there's just something about them, the way they speak, their experiences, their behavior, that tells me, this person has got something that the other people I just saw do not have.